And it's official. Are we live?
We
We're
are
finally
live.
we are live. Hey, Facebook. Welcome to House in the Car Series 4. It's so hard to believe that we are already in Series 4. And Stephanie, guess what?
What is it?
It's our first month. Happy birthday, House in the Car. Happy birthday. So I'm sure you guys can see over here, we're celebrating our birthday. We have our birthday banner up, our birthday crowns. We're so excited to have been with you for the 4th series. And this series is titled, Make That Change. I just don't know how, if I could even get any more excited than that. Like, make that change. That title is just everything to me.
Absolutely, I agree. And in order to make that change, you have to be the change that you want to see. So I definitely understand how we segue into the title of this episode, which is The Man in the Mirror. So you have to start with yourself if you want to see that change.
That is exactly what we're looking at. We need to start with self in order to see that change. And you know what? And then we're going to progressively move forward. We're going to start with self, then we're going to talk about moving into the family. The next title is A Family That Saves Together, Achieve Forever. And we're even excited about that one, guys. We took a little bit of a break before launching this series. And the other thing that I want to announce to everyone is this is the last series of the year. So series 4, this is the last series of the year. And we'll pick series 5 back up in 2021.
Yeah,
Don't
and that's
okay.
well, you know what? That's just going to give us a lot of time to prepare and just really bring it. And I know that they're going to be waiting for us, and they'll be excited when we do return with the series 5.
Yeah, we so let's talk about episode 1 of series 4. And today we're definitely excited about our guest, and we'll make the announcement of who our guest is here shortly, our guest presenter. But when we start talking about home ownership being a spiritual journey, when we meet with our clients day in and day out, we and even backing up, because this is about house in the car. When we're speaking with the individuals that we interview, what we know is fear holds a lot of weight when making a decision to purchase or not to purchase. It has actually deterred so many people from purchasing a home. And that's what we knew. We knew that home ownership, not only, of course, you have your to-do list and things that you have to do, but it is definitely a spiritual journey. And that's why making that change, starting with the man in the mirror, Michael Jackson had that right, Stephanie.
And I thought that you were going to play that song as like an introduction song, like us walking into that. I really thought that you were going to play that song.
Well, I did. I put it on the story, so that everyone
can... But I was like, you know what? I know she's going to start this show off with this song.
I should have, because we're starting with the man in the mirror. Well, I guess Stephanie, we can proceed with our program. Our special guest is waiting in the waiting room. I'm going to go ahead and let them know that we're ready for them. But I guess we can move right ahead.
Well, if you want me to introduce him right now before he gets on, or get the audience ready.
They're on. Let me just there we go. There you go.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, without further ado, I would like to introduce you guys to one of my favorite bishops, Bishop James Dixon. So, hey, Bishop, how are you?
Hey, good afternoon, Steph. How you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you. So,
Hey, Bishop.
Hey, Letitia, how you doing, girl?
Good. So happy to have you here.
I'm with the birthday queens. I see the the crown. Now I see 2 crowns. Is it 2 birthdays or just 1?
Well, it's House in the Car's birthday, so we're celebrating all month.
All right. I got it. I got it. Well, happy birthday all the way for all the month of October.
Absolutely.
Now, my
Absolutely.
birthday is next month, so I'm gonna try to do it a whole month too, since y'all setting that month.
That's the way
we
to
give you
party.
permission.
That's the way to
Huh?
party.
Absolutely.
Guys, I do want to formally introduce Bishop Dixon. He is an international, inspiring, and informative visionary leader who has built a life of empowerment predicated upon the tenet of greater by grace through faith. Through utilizing biblical principles, he has empowered leaders in ministry, business, education, and civic and political arenas to maximize their God-given potential. As the senior pastor at the Community of Faith Church for more than 40 years, Bishop Dixon's ministry philosophy is guided by Matthew 5:13 through 16 and Matthew 25:31 through 46 and other great passages that promote the ministry of Jesus and the role of the church in the earth. Bishop Dixon's ministry demonstrates the verity that the church must do more outside of its own four walls. Bishop Dixon also serves as the presiding prelate of Kingdom Builders Global Fellowship. The mission of this fellowship of pastors and churches is to see the kingdom of God established and executed in the lives of people, in churches, and in communities throughout the nation and world, all for God's glory. Bishop Dixon's message of faith is the gospel of the kingdom. His ministry is kingdom focused and his mission is kingdom inspired. As an advocate for compassionate confrontation, he promotes offering a hand up to the poor, feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, uplifting the oppressed, and serving the least. He has developed numerous kingdom initiatives with social impact, some of which include Coast of Compassion, H-Town Cares, and the Light Up Crusade, which ministers the love of Jesus behind prison walls. Bishop Dixon worked to establish the first no trafficking zone in the U.S. at NRG Stadium because he believes the difference we make is the difference that matters. He is also co-founder of Loving Kids and founder and CEO of Good Gang USA, a free STEAM program with a social impact component designed for youth to develop within them strong minds with social civic consciousness. As an innovative social impact leader, Dr. Dixon has been a prominent proponent for racial reconciliation and maximizing diversity through his organization, One Family, One Future. He further promotes an agenda of social justice and community impact by serving as a member of Mayor Turner's newly created police reform task and appearing as a guest instructor for the Houston Police Academy. Wow, Bishop Dixon has really served our community, and he believes service to others is the greatest demonstration of our faith and testament of God's love.
Is it me now?
Well, that was
It's
a
you.
mouthful. That was a mouthful. So you have really made an impact in the Houston community. So it is definitely on you now.
Wow, I tell you, anyway, thank God for grace. I am so honored to be with you all today, Letitia and Steph. Thank you for having me. I always enjoy doing things with the Houston Black Realtors Association. I'm just always inspired by the opportunity. So thank you all for having me today and for considering me as your guest. I know that you could have gotten a plethora of speakers, much more qualified and absolutely much more inspiring than I am. So thank you for considering the B team. I appreciate that and giving me this opportunity. And for what you're doing, though, to inspire home ownership throughout the city and the nation. It's a valuable thing. You could just be doing your own business, you know what I mean? Just out doing like most people get a degree, get a license, and they just want to use it for personal benefit, and they're not concerned about the broader community and their opportunities. So thank you for doing what you're doing. This is, noble, and it's about others. So congratulations on the outstanding work that you continue to do. And I know NARAB is doing that on a national level, but Houston is the leading chapter in NARAB, absolutely so. And I'm delighted to be a be a part of it. All my friends. I hope a bunch of our friends are probably on, right, Tish, with HBRA, and so are they on?
They're on.
Yeah. Well, let me wave up to all my homies, and with the realtors. Thank y'all so very much. I know that I've got a limited amount of time, so I want to get down to work because you didn't have me to come on just to have a good social time. Although I the COVID, we've been not seeing each other, right? So,
Yeah.
and so I'm glad that you all are safe and that you've been doing well in the midst of it. I'm just excited. Now, let me also thank all of my social media followers. We're starting a watch party right now with all my followers at James Dixon Empowers. So welcome to you all as well. And thank you all for tuning in. My assignment, of course, is to deal with the spiritual journey concerning home ownership, and that's a different twist on home ownership than most people would even have us have as a perspective. Most people don't think I need a house, and that's a part of our spiritual journey. And so let me tie those together by way of introduction, and then get down into some nuts and bolts of what I want to talk about today. And I think we're going to have a question and answer period right afterwards. Am I right?
We are.
Okay, excellent. So I'll consider my comments concisely. Why is this a spiritual journey? Well, let me just share with you that as people of faith, and of course, as you mentioned in your introduction, Stephanie, I am a kingdom teacher. I'm a citizen of the kingdom of God. Anyone who's a child of God, you got to understand the kingdom of God. And we are on earth as agents and ambassadors of a kingdom that is not of this world. And so our entire life concept is a kingdom concept, which means that we become visible manifestations of the power of God in the presence of people for his glory. We become visible manifestations of the power of God in the presence of people for God's glory. It means that our purpose in the earth is bigger than anything personal. Our purpose in the earth is bigger than anything personal. And when we adopt a kingdom identity and a kingdom mentality, and then that leads to understanding kingdom authority, and that translates into how we occupy kingdom territory. Let me break that down one more time. Kingdom identity, I'm a child of God, child of the king. Kingdom mentality, I begin to think like a kingdom person, which means dominion mindset. The dominion mindset, let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, fowl, the air, beasts of the field, over the earth, and all that creeps and moves along the earth. The earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof, the world, and they that dwell therein. And so the way I operate in the earth is based on my kingdom identity and my kingdom mentality. And then I operate in kingdom authority, which means that I've already been blessed by God to operate authoritatively in the earth realm. And that involves some degree of land mastery, land stewardship, which we translate into the term land ownership. Got it?
Yeah.
And so it's identity first, it's mentality second, it's authority third, and then it becomes territory. And you cannot have dominion over a territory that you can't speak for. So home ownership becomes then the smallest amount of territory that a kingdom-minded person should occupy.
Yeah.
Home ownership becomes the smallest amount of territory, not the largest, but the smallest amount of territory that a kingdom-minded person should occupy. It's a starting point, certainly not an ending point. It's number one in the numerical system of land ownership, not number 5 or 10. And so often, most people, many of us don't even get to number 1. And so you surely can't get to 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Home ownership is the starting point. It is the smallest piece of land ownership that a kingdom-minded person should occupy as his or her territory. Got it? So then it becomes a part of your spiritual journey because it now is the representation of my kingdom manifestation in the earth. I have an assignment and a responsibility to be a person who manifests dominion, which means to reign, to rule. It means to govern. I can speak for this territory. And unfortunately, you cannot speak for the territory that you're renting because it's in somebody else's name, which means that territory is connected to somebody else's identity. If it was Sunday morning, somebody would shout right there. If I'm renting an apartment, the apartment is in the name of the owner. And so it represents that owner's identity and that owner's mentality and that owner's authority. But if I own the house and it is in my name, then it's connected to my identity and mentality and authority, and the territory now becomes governed for the glory of my King. So you got that. That's why this is an essential part of your spiritual journey. And unfortunately, many of us have grown up in church, but we have not learned it like this. But that's the beginning of the Bible. Genesis chapter 1, God created the heavens and the earth. And in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, 27, God says, let them have dominion over the fish of the sea. But before he said that, he said, let's make them in our image and in our likeness. So if God made us in his image and his likeness, and he reigns and rules, he made us to be reigners and rulers, which is why he said, have dominion, have dominion. And of course, here at the Community of Faith Church, we've taught this principle of dominion for the last 30 years, and you should see the manifestations of it because there are people who come to us who making minimum wage, been on the same job for 10, 15, 20 years, still renting, but by us helping to change their concept of identity and concept of mentality and concept of authority, they become homeowners in the process. And it's amazing. In fact, the lead custodian of our church just celebrated with me this past Sunday because he came to us, a crack addict, had just thrown his crack pipe in the streets. He weighed 100 pounds. Now he weighs 185, 190. He came to us with, almost homeless, only with the clothes on his back. And at the altar, I prophesied to him, you're going to own your own house. And this was a man who'd been in prison year after year for decades, had been a drug addict. And he said to me, I just completed my classes, and in 6 months, I'll be ready to start breaking ground on my new house. And but that's what kingdom identity, mentality, authority, and understanding territory would do if you get the truth in your system. Now, having said all of that, and we can give you those stories in the personalities of many individuals who simply get this understanding that home ownership, land ownership is a part of my spiritual journey. It is not just what the pastor talks, it's what the congregation talks, lives, and understands. And so people help each other here to form that identity, understand that mentality, and they assist each other as we're in that progressive journey, spiritual journey of becoming what we say is a visible manifestation of the power of God in the presence of people for God's glory.
Yeah.
Gotta preach. So that's how we flow with that from a biblical perspective. And of course, the entire Old Testament, the backdrop is about land. It's about leaving Egypt where you were a slave, going through a wilderness temporarily in preparation to take over Canaan, where you'd own the best land in the world. And that's what God was always moving his people towards, being those who would exercise dominion based on the authority and the blessedness on their life. Let me talk a bit practical about this, because somebody said, no, okay, I hear you preaching about that. Now, how is that going to help me process practically my pursuit of home ownership and land ownership? Let me just say to you that home ownership is a sacred right, and a sacred responsibility. It is a sacred right and a sacred responsibility, like the right to vote. And there's a reason why there's been such discrimination and so many barriers put in the way of Blacks and other minorities to own their own homes. There are reasons for that. And anything somebody keeps trying to block you from, you know there's a blessing in. If they try to block you from anything, that's constant laws trying to block you, policies trying to block you, people trying to block you. Anytime there's all that blocking to keep you from something, you know there's a blessing in it. Got it? So when you look at the history of this, of course, coming out of slavery, we were promised 40 acres and a mule. We never got the mule nor the 40 acres. Why? Because we live in a land-based economy, which means that the laws and the constitutions are written to the favor of the landowner and of the homeowner. There are more benefits written in the system of laws on behalf of homeowners. There are tax breaks and all kinds of benefits. I wish I had time to chronicle those within the next 10 minutes. But just Google it, benefits to home ownership, and you will see a plethora of itemized benefits financially, for your family, for your children, all tied to home ownership. And when you see those benefits, you'll understand why there are barriers. When you see the benefits, you'll understand why there are barriers. In neighborhoods where most of us own homes, the schools are better. It affects education. The infrastructure is better. It affects every facet, every element of your community. Where there's large amounts of home ownership, there are better grocery stores. So that's your health. Where there are large number of homeowners, you have better supplies and resources, access to homeowners. Why is that? Because homeowners are stable and homeowners are stayable, you see? And so people deal with homeowners differently than they deal with renters, because they know a renter will complain about something today, but you're somewhere else next year. So the politicians, now that's going to affect your policy. Politicians, elected officials, pay greater attention to homeowners because you are stable and you are stayable, which means you got to be dealt with. So when you are a renter, then your voice has less power because they know you're transit and you're temporary. In fact, you're not even vested in the community, which means you don't even have the long-term care and concern and conviction concerning that particular community. Right, so it's very important for us to understand all of the barriers that are there, but the barriers are there because there's a blessing on the other side of it.
There's a blessing. Come on now.
Got it? All right, so let me just share. I got so much information to rattle off and such limited amount of time to say this to you, but I can tell you that, brothers and sisters, understand that home ownership provides stability and wealth building opportunities are built or inherent in owning a home. Every time you pay a note with interest, you are automatically saving, because the more you deduct on the interest, the more goes into the equity of the house. So you have a savings account in your house payment that you don't even know you have. You're making a deposit into your future every time you pay a note, because the equity comes out on to your benefit on that side of the ledger. You don't have that with paying rent, right? You see? Yeah. And then you have predictable budget, because your rent is only guaranteed for a year. You don't know what the rent amount is going to be next year. It's only guaranteed for the extent of the lease term. Yeah. But with buying a house, a 30-year mortgage, 15-year fixed, you know what your payment is going to be. And then you can amortize and see where your equity will be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So people now are willing to take a bigger chance with you, because you got a stable future financially based on the uptick on your home mortgage and the wealth and the value that it builds. So there are benefits to owning a home that you cannot calculate, cannot transfer rather to a rental relationship. You got it? And I promise you,
Got it.
your relationship with your mortgage lender will always be stronger than your relationship with your landlord.
Hey, hey.
God. Okay, so that's just some practical stuff. I wish I had time to start to deal with some of this, but I'm saying read the historical barriers to Black home ownership and understand that this is not a new phenomenon. I mean, it's always been the case. When redlining was officially ended,
Yeah.
listen, when the banks and the mortgage industry redlining our communities so that we could not get loans in our Black owned neighborhoods to buy homes, they wouldn't lend you the money to buy a house in our neighborhood. That was for a reason. But then even after redlining, they left the same people in place. So while the policy figuratively had ended, the people who had put the policy in place stayed there to continue discrimination practices, still keeping us from owning homes. And in the last 20 years, Black home ownership has fallen at a rate higher than any other group of people, including whites or Hispanics. So we are going backwards with home ownership, especially with young Black Americans. This is putting our community's future in jeopardy. It's putting our community's future in jeopardy. And so this is a very powerful conversation, Stephanie and Letitia, for you to be having. We've got to reach the millennials. We've got to reach the Gen Xers to help them understand that home ownership cannot be an option for later when I'm 50. You need to be thinking about this right now while you're 18, 19, and 20.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah.
All right. Because we know, as Sister Andrea Cooksey would say, if you've got a Range Rover and you're parking it at somebody's driveway, you need a ticket, a citation, because what you're doing now is you got more car than you have castle. And I want to say to you that you cannot make your car your castle. You got to have a home. You need to have a place that's stable. Let me just try to wrap this up, because you mentioned the fact that we're dealing with the spiritual journey, and that involves your faith. And I most people have not considered this, but let me say this to my young brothers and sisters. One, you got to focus on being stable before being successful. Here is a big issue for us. Most of us are trying to be successful before you're stable. And that's out of order. Okay. You heard that you got to crawl before you walk. Okay.
Right.
So stability comes before success. There is no genuine, real success that's not built on stability. Okay. Stability. Home ownership is the foundation of stability. Stableness, stability. All right. So focus on being stable, not successful. Success will come in the next phase. So first of all, let me get stable. Let me get me a place, an address. Let me get a place in my name that says I'm stable. I'm stable. I can build a family on stability. I can build a lifestyle on stability. I can build a portfolio on stability. On stability. And the mistake I see so many young people making is they're chasing success. And so they're from this to that, to this to that. And since success is not easy to come by, they decide to look successful. See? And so because success now is how I grade myself. Do I look successful? Or other people calling me successful? Do they give me the nod like I'm successful? So I want to show up driving successful, dressing successful, when the truth of the matter is I ain't successful. I'm not even stable. Okay. All right. So you got to deal with focusing on stability before focusing on being successful. You say, but I mean, home ownership is not an easy process. And you're right. You're right. If it was easy, everybody would do it. But guess what? Easy come, easy go. The best things in life are the things that are harder to get. The best things in life are the things that are harder to get. It's easy to get an apartment. Why? Because there's not much value in it for you. You see, so you got to understand that. Now, there are barriers, but you got to focus now on the blessings rather than the barriers. Focus on the blessing rather than the barrier. Once you put your mind on the blessing that comes with home ownership, as opposed to the barriers that are in the way of becoming a homeowner, you'll find yourself more motivated and more inspired. More motivated, and I'm inspired about the blessing. I'm gonna home my home. I am a homeowner in the making. I'm gonna have a resident with my name on it. I'll have a key to the door and the lock at the house that I own. You gotta focus on the blessing rather than the barrier. And then let me say this too, you need to have the benefit of collaboration, which means this: your company you keep should be company that helps to inspire and motivate you towards your vision. All right. So you got to surround yourself with visionary voices, which means this, that you need people speaking into your life, speaking into your hearing constantly, that coincides or that's in agreement with your vision. My vision is to be a homeowner and a landowner. So I need people who speaking with their voices into my vision on a consistent basis. That means your pastor ought to be speaking to your vision. That means your boo, your girlfriend, your boyfriend ought to be speaking into your vision. If you are constantly in the voices of people who are satisfied with renting and driving what they can't afford to drive, eating what they can't afford to eat, looking sharp and successful, but they're not stable, then guess what? You are never becoming what your closest friends are not. You are never becoming what your closest friends are not. So you need people constantly speaking with their voices that are in concert with and in agreement with your vision. You got it? That's why this kind of experience is so important, because it attracts people who have vision. And now you got voices speaking into a vision that keeps you on the right path to becoming the homeowner that God purposed you to be and God wants you to be. You can do this. Yes. You can do this. And then the other thing that does is you see other people who are doing it and who have done it, and that inspires you to say, if God did it for them, he can do it for me. You see? All right. Yeah. So that's huge. And then finally, this piece on faith. Write this down. Faith over facts cancels fear. Faith over facts cancels fear. All right. What keeps people from pursuing big goals and dreams like owning a home? They're looking at facts. My credit is bad. Facts. I don't have enough money in the bank. Facts. My job doesn't pay me enough money. Facts. You know, that's discrimination. Facts. All kind of facts. All right. So you put all those facts on the table, and if you focus on the facts, you'll forever be disempowered. You'll forever be disempowered. Okay. So you said, but you got to elevate your faith over the facts. And faith is, watch this now, faith is an uncompromising confidence that there's a future that doesn't look like my right now, that there's a not yet that's greater than my now. So my faith sees what facts don't say. Let me say again, my faith sees what facts don't say. The fact says I can't. My faith says I can. The fact says I won't. My faith says I will. The fact says it's too late. The faith says I got time. The facts always will disagree with your faith, and your faith will always disagree with your facts. So you got to focus on the facts on your faith rather than your facts, and then elevate your faith over facts, and it will cancel fear. It will cancel fear. And God has not given us the spirit to fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. All right? Yes. Love, power, and a sound mind. And once you get your faith in place and you elevate it over the facts, then the facts lose power and fear will dissipate. And you'll find yourself moving towards your goals with the favor of God on your life. Because guess what? Wherever there's faith, there's going to be favor. Wherever there's faith, there's going to be favor. God will show you the right realtors. God will take you to the right bank. God will take you to the right neighbor. Faith always brings favor. And you'll find favor at the bank, favor with the mortgage lender, favor with the realtors, favor. Faith always brings favor. And there is nothing you can't do when the favor of God is with you. I said, there's nothing you can't do when the favor of God is with you. I said one more time, there is nothing you can't do when the favor of God is with you.
sir.
Come on in.
Okay.
Come on in.
All right. We better get to these questions and answers, y'all, because
First of all, you started all of this off with B. I saw nothing but A+, and we knew that if there was anyone out there that had the ability to bring it and appeal to our millennials, it was going to be you.
Oh.
So first, I want to thank you for celebrating our birthday, bringing back episode 1 on series 4 with House in the Car. Bishop, every time I'm in your presence, I hear you. And ironically enough, home ownership is always on the chopping block when it comes to you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Always. So A over here all day. And I'm glad that you ended with faith over facts will cancel fear.
Yeah.
On our Millennial Talk Tuesday, regardless to what the millennial says, what we hear is fear. And when we talk about facts, let's face it, this particular generation, they were exposed. They are either the first generation to purchase a home in their family, or they were exposed to a family member that lost their homes during the foreclosure time crisis. So just that nugget, faith over facts will cancel fear, is what I want every millennial that's listening, that's on the edge of home ownership, to take back with them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's it.
I agree with you, Letitia, because that is one of the number one obstacles or barriers that we hear from our millennials as to why they have not purchased a home yet. They are afraid. And so Pastor Bishop, that was a word. So yeah, canceling that fear with your faith over the facts, that's something that's going to stick with me, and I will be sharing that with everyone, not just our millennials, but with everyone in every aspect.
Yeah. And not to mention who you surround yourself with, because as stated, when we talk about family members that may have lost their home, it may make you a little apprehensive about home ownership. So now with that proper connection, surrounding and you even said, make sure your boo is on the same path, surrounding yourself with the right group of people to connect it, because this episode is titled Man in the Mirror for a reason. Yeah. Because that's where you must start. You must face yourself, face your fears in effort to make the change, because the change isn't just about you. Home ownership is, what did you say, Bishop Dixon, step 1?
Yeah, it's just step 1. And it's the bottom floor of becoming financially stable and building a stable life is home ownership. I mean, this is the first piece of land, and the smallest piece of land you ought to own is your home, right? And that's a different mindset for us, because for the longest we were taught that the big goal, find a big goal, is get your own house.
Yeah.
But please understand, we got to shift that mindset that home ownership is a big deal, but it ain't the biggest deal. It's where you start, not where you stop. And we have to get that into our different, into our mindset. But in keeping what you were just saying, Letish, is this. Okay, people have fear of failing, right?
Yeah.
Of failing. But can I tell you, and I like Dr. Cornel West says, quoting someone else, listen, all life is about failing better, failing better, until you don't fail. It's you fail and fail better, because that's life. There's nothing, and I tell, listen, failure is not final unless you quit, right? So and failure really is a form of success, because in failure you learn how not to fail the same way, and if you learn how not to fail the same way, you really benefited from the failing experience. It didn't kill you, it just taught you. It better prepared you, and it will prepare you. So listen, there's nothing really to fear ultimately, because failure is not final, And it's not all bad. You learn how not to fail the same way. And that's what ultimately turns into a success. A successful decision has been honed into a successful decision by the failures that you did before it. You got it? And so I need y'all to understand, but if you're around simple-minded, shallow-minded friends who will call you an ultimate failure because you tried something that didn't work, that means you got the wrong set of friends. You need people around you who will say, man, okay, let me just say this. I don't have people next to me talking to me often who trips like that. Because if that's what you define failure to be, like it's the doom of a life, then you're too shallow for me. You're just too shallow for me. And I want to encourage those who are listening right now, listen to these sisters. They're trying to get you to understand that there's potential in you right now that has not been put into practice yet, but you can't win the game unless you're on the field.
Yeah. You know, in continuing with make that change, because that's what this series 4 is all about, making a change.
Yeah.
So we are going to address those policies, those laws, but you segued right into that. Anything that they're blocking you from, there's a blessing in it.
Yes, absolutely.
Historically, there's been so much and so often, so many barriers, so much blockage, so many policy that needs to be addressed and changed. And we're going to talk about all that on episode 4. But here it is today, and I'm just going to call it what it is. In the sermon, Bishop Dixon brought it to us. And he said, if they're trying to keep it from you, and not just by keeping it from you by holding your hand and pulling you back, but going so far as to making policy change to prevent you from your natural born right, you know it's a blessing in it.
Yes.
But Letitia, let's go back a little bit. When we say man in the mirror, make that change, we have to look at the barriers that we're putting up in our own minds, in our own selves, and things that we are doing to prevent ourselves from becoming homeowners, things that we're doing to keep those fears in our head. So there are things that we can do in our own everyday practices. So if there's some barriers that you need to take a step back and say, you know what, can I do this differently? Is there something I can do better? When we talk about credit management and budgeting and things like that, that can help you become a homeowner, you have to take a look at yourself and see, what am I doing and what can I do to get myself over that hump? So start with the man in the mirror when we're talking about making the changes and barriers that prevent us from becoming homeowners, because it's not always just systematic. It is becoming, it starts with ourselves too.
Yeah, humility. Humility is a powerful word, because first of all, you got people who want to help you and who can, right? And I love what HBRA does, because you are trying to help people. And their counseling classes, their home buyer education classes, we do it at the NACP in partnership with your organization, because it's about help. But so many people lack the humility because they want to come in and they're already here. Listen, all of us need somebody to help pull us up to where we need to be. And you know, those barriers that are there, the discriminatory policies that are there, there are some people who've learned how to work the system in spite of the system. There's some people who learn how to work the system in spite of the system. But if you connect with them in humility, they can say, hey, this is how you get there. This is the path. This is how you structure it. This is how you fix your credit. This is how you fill out the application. These are the people you need to meet and know. And you'll find yourself moving progressively forward toward the goal of home ownership. But you got to be humble enough to say, hey, y'all, I want to get there. Can somebody show me the way? Can somebody show me the way? I think that's why this show is so powerful. And that's why what you all do is so powerful.
Yeah, thank you for that. We are extremely excited and blessed to be chair and campaign manager of House in the Car. the impact that House in the Car has had on the lives of so many. And of course, yes, House in the Car has a strategic focus on millennial home ownership, and that's just one of the NARAB 8 by our national president, President Donnell Williams. But House in the Car has been so very impactful from the local level all the way up to the national level. Guys, we want to help you. And that is whatever we need to do. That's why we're here every Tuesday, providing you with that knowledge. Statistically, millennials have been shown to value the input of their peers. And you heard it here from Bishop Dixon as well. Surround yourself with like-minded people. That's what's going to take you to the next level. Stephanie, what? And look, it's been a while since we've been here, so our Facebook audience, I know they are communicating with us.
They are, and they don't have any questions, but they are excited about this show. Bishop Dixon, they are saying great session. Home ownership is the key to wealth. Gap rule governed with authority. Anytime there's blocking you from it, there's a blessing in it. That is a word. So everyone is just super duper excited about this particular episode. And, they're just really clapping their hands and amen. This is great. So we don't have any questions at this time. So everyone is just really, really excited. And Letitia, you mentioned that House in the Car wants to help. And so in celebration of our birthday month, our HTTC ambassadors will be putting on an event to help in your local community. So the event is providing you with the tools for home ownership. So look out for this event on October the 24th. It's a Saturday. So somewhere near you, there's going to be an event. It's going to be virtual, and our ambassadors are going to be providing you with the tools to home ownership. So just in our typical fashion, we want to provide and help you achieve your goals of home ownership.
Whoa, Stephanie, okay, so I was aware. Do you happen to know already how many local chapters have signed up to provide the virtual platform?
I don't know offhand. I did see about at least 15 of our ambassadors will be doing an event. Some of them will be doing it early, some in the daytime, some at night. So we're excited that our ambassadors are excited and will be ready to put that information out there to answer your questions, to give you the knowledge and equip you with these tools that are available to you through our House in the Car website. And they're going to share everything with you so that you can become a homeowner.
Yeah, and I want to make an announcement to you. I call Quicken has agreed to come aboard for these as well.
Awesome.
So Quicken Loans says, yep. So we'll be finalizing that. So definitely excited about those things. Good deal, guys. Look at everything. Of course, visit the House in the Cars website. On House in the Cars website, we have our ambassadors posted. So if you're looking for an ambassador in a city near you, go ahead, check out houseinthecar.com and hit the ambassador button, and the ambassador list per state will appear. If you don't see an ambassador in your local area, go ahead and reach out to us. You can reach out to me. That's Letitia.grant@nareb.com. That's LATISHA.GRANT@nareb.com. And then, of course, Stephanie would be Stephanie Milburn. It's STEPHANIE .MILBURN@NAREB.com. Guys, again, it's our birthday month and we're gonna party like it's 1999. So and we know next month is Bishop's birthday. So if you are in the Houston area, I advise that you, Bishop, are you having in-person service?
Not yet, but we're on live every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock a.m. At right here on my Facebook page at James Dixon Empowers. James Dixon Empowers, EMPOWERS. And every Sunday morning at 10 o'clock a.m. They can catch our broadcast there. And of course, Wednesday nights at 7:30, we're on as well. So we would love to have y'all join us there. And then just get ready, because as soon as we open the doors for the public, we would love to have you come and be a part of that. We do empowerment like this all the time. I promise you, your life will be blessed. We
Good
bless.
deal.
Shouts
Good
out to
deal.
LaDonna Parker. God bless y'all. All of the NARAB leaders at the national and the HBRA here at the local. All of y'all know we love you.
Yes, yes. Well, again, we thank you so very much for joining us today. The message that you brought was everything and more that I could have even thought of. For those of you that don't know, we are moving on to episode 2 next Tuesday. Episode 2 is A Family That Saves Together Achieves Forever. And we'll be
Whoa.
on, wasn't that a mouthful?
I love it. I love it. I love it. And this is our Kingdom Family Legacy Month here at the Community of Faith Church. So I'm a borrow that. A family that saves together, achieves together. Amen.
Yep.
Chris, we're writing it down right now. I
Well,
love it.
we're gonna be joined with Marlena from Freddie Mac, and we're gonna dig deep in budget. We're
Yeah.
even going to get, Stephanie, it's Task Realty Group's anniversary month as well. So maybe next month we'll bring the baby and make sure.
Partying. We just gonna party till the end of the year.
We need it. So we're all gonna stretch out, next week, next Tuesday, guys, bring your pen and paper, because we're gonna get real when we talk about that budget. Stephanie?
That's powerful.
Guys, as always, we do have our other series on Tuesdays as well. So next week, join us for our Millennial Talk Tuesday. So we did air our Home Ownership Changed My Life earlier today. So if you did not get a chance to take a look at it, please, it was a very inspiring interview. And shout out to the Realtus agent, Travis Brooks, for assisting that client, because he really, really had a great testimony. So definitely there was fear in him as well. He listened to his father and he listened to his Realtus agent. So and he came out on top. So go ahead and please click on that YouTube video and review that interview. It's one that you will definitely want to hear, and tune in next Tuesday for our Millennial Talk Tuesday.
Good deal. Bishop, any closing remarks? We always like to, we'll leave it to you.
No, may the favor of God be with you. May your faith show your future that's more brighter than your past. And I want you to remember this. Make sure your friends speak into your future and not into your failure. Make sure your friends speak into your future and not about your failure. Let me say it one more time. Make sure your friends talk about your future, not about your failure, because God has great things in store for you. God bless y'all. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Letitia. I've enjoyed it. And hey, don't y'all forget about me. Call me back sometime.
We'll never forget about you, Bishop.
All right, all love.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, Facebook.